Hey guys! Okay, two things. One is I just realized that I say hey guys at the beginning of every video. I don't know if I can change that. I'm sorry. Hey guys! Second thing is I got a new hat. And I don't care if it's not, it doesn't help me see too much. I don't care if it's not the most fashionable thing. I don't care if it looks a little bit too Russian. I think this is an awesome hat. And if it looks Russian, then hello to the Russians. This is an awesome hat that you created, if it is. Anyhow, what I wanted to talk about today was the villages. Now, if you come to India and you don't see a village, and I'm not saying like a touristy, oh, you get a tour of the village. I mean just walking into a village, talking to people, and just taking in the experience, then you haven't really seen India. And I'm not saying that you haven't, you have to go to the touristy areas or you have to go to the village. I think that every part of it really adds to it, seeing the really touristy big cities and then seeing the villages. But people in villages are some of the most kind, welcoming people that I've ever met. And there's just so much naivety behind it and just so much beauty because of it. And I didn't have as many experiences as I'd like, but I had two fantastic ones. The first was in a place called Hampi, Karnataka. It's in the South India. And we were actually going on a very random trip on scooters to like a very random place, really, to see bears, which we didn't end up seeing. However, throughout the experience, we went on scooters throughout villages, and village after village. It was just so surreal because there were about 3 scooters that were going, and these kids would run after us, and there would be like 20, 30 kids just running after us and, following us and wanting to just touch our hands and just because they're not used to seeing that many people pass by, and it was just such a big experience for them. And then when we actually stopped in the villages, one thing is they don't speak the national language, at least in Karnataka, because they just don't. And so that was a little bit of a struggle. But the first thing that they ask you for is a school pen. If you go to any village, I swear to God, if they've had any contact with anyone, then they'll just go, school pen? And that's because I found out later on from someone that what a lot of foreigners do is they bring in packets of school pens instead of giving money. They bring in school pens and they give it to all these kids. And it's a good thing. I mean, at least the first thing they ask for is school pen, not money. They ask for that last. So, but they ask school pen, and then they go chocolate, and then biscuit, and then they're like money. But it was really fun to see, and it was really adorable. And just being in the village was just such an interesting experience. Another factor was that they didn't speak Hindi, which I speak. So there was a point where I was with some friends, and they were speaking English, and I would translate into Hindi. There were only 2 men in the whole village who knew how to speak Hindi. So they would translate to the rest of the village, and then the village would speak back to the 2 men, then they would say something to me, and then I would say it back to my friends. It was really crazy because it was just the language, it was awesome. Anyways, I have pictures with the kids. They loved having their pictures taken. It was just really funny because I don't know if they don't get to see pictures of themselves often. That would make a lot of sense, but they loved it, and it was really cool. So here it is. If I can, yeah, there it is. Okay, so the second experience I had was about 50 miles away from the main city, Jaisalmer, Rajasthan, where I did the camel riding. And so it was still a desert kind of environment. That was up in North India versus the other one was in South India. And what happened was I just had time to kill, was walking around, and all these little kids came up to me, and just like the other ones, they said, school pen? I'm like, I don't have any. They said, chocolates? I'm like, nope, no chocolates. And they said, biscuits? I said, nope. And then they said, give us money, we'll buy some. And I thought to myself, I'm not giving these kids money. I don't want to create a habit where people believe that, foreigners are just handing out money. It's not, I don't know, it doesn't create a good system. So I went over with the kids and was like, alright, I have nothing to do. I'm just gonna hang out with these little kids. So I bought them a bunch of biscuits. And I mean, every little kid was like, biscuit? and I had about 15 kids around me by the time I finally reached, which grew from like 7. And then the funniest thing was, it was very sweet. All of them were like, what about for my sister, and what about for my brother? And they really legitimately were giving them to their brothers and their sisters, and I saw that, and it was really cute. And after that, I left the change, and the total was only 100 rupees for all these biscuits. And so I left the change with the guy who owned the shop, and my hat. With the guy who owned the shop, and I literally just kept sending kids back there because I didn't want to keep going back and forth. And then I found out for them, hello, hello meant come visit my home. So they kept pulling me towards in different directions to all their homes and going hello, hello. And so I ended up going into one, and the mom was so fantastic and wonderful, and I found out she was my age. She asked me, do I have a sister? And I said no. And she goes, well, then I'm your sister. And she gave me tea, and she made dinner, and we had, like, and she also gave me cow's milk, which I've never had before, which is the most delicious thing ever. I don't know if I could go back to fat-free skim milk at home, because milk from a cow is delicious. And that's why I tried to milk the cow afterwards and failed miserably. But that was a couple videos ago. But yeah, milking a cow is hard, and my sister did it like a pro. And then I went from there to another home, and we just sat, and I was invited to a wedding. There was this girl, and I met her, and she was very excited about her wedding, and she invited me, and I said, I don't think I can make it. It's kind of far from here. And then it's just so beautiful. And they don't understand how far things are there, but I think that's what makes it even more beautiful. There was this simplicity that, and this contentment that I found, and you don't find that in most people. You don't find this content, at least not in big cities. You don't find this contentment in the way that they live. There's always this hunger for something more, and it was just amazing. I wish I could go back to that village and just hang out some more, and I did for as long as I could. But that's about it. Thanks for watching, guys. Obviously, pictures later on, and I didn't take, a lot of foreigners, they take money and pay people to have pictures taken of them. I didn't do that. I asked them, and they actually wanted me to take pictures of them. So if anyone's going to say, why'd you take pictures? Well, it's because they asked me to. Literally, they were like, can you take pictures of us? That's about it. Take care. Bye.